Welcome to episode 4 of Run the Brand, the podcast where endurance meets entrepreneurship. In each episode, we try to share inspiring and powerful stories, practical tips and takeaways from athletes, founders, and creators that push their limits in sports, business, and their daily life. And today, once again, I'm joined by my co-founder of Mauja Media, Tim Jambula. So Tim, what are we going to talk about today again?
Today we'll be talking about the intersection of entrepreneurship and business, meaning how habits of entrepreneurs convert into business and how maybe habits of business convert into entrepreneurs and athletic, let's say, ambition. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting podcast and also quite a personal one. We obviously not going to try to make it too personal, but just give personal insights and stories.
Mm.
And so we try to keep this one shorter than usual. At least we try. If we fail, please forgive us. But we both have a very sportive background. We both played quite professionally in a young age.
Yeah.
You played soccer, or how we say football.
We say football.
So maybe you want to just give a quick background of your sportive journey as a child or childhood.
Yeah. So basically, I came to Germany and went to school. And instead of going, I always told my teachers I want to go to the bathroom, and then ended up on the pitch basically and playing soccer the whole day, the whole time. My dad picked it up and was like, "Oh, so you want to play sports? You want to play soccer? You want to play football?" And I said, "Yes, let's go." And that's how the journey began. Man, it was just so intense as well. Because I had three coaches. My dad was a coach. Then I had, of course, the club. And then I had a private coach, but not for the whole time. It was just 3 years. And then all the other coaches were the whole time, basically. But man, it was intense. The name Jambula actually comes from that time as well. We might go deeper into that another time. But basically, I started playing soccer. I played for the local team and then switched to another local team, was playing on the second division of the Bundesliga back then. And it was, but what I mean by intense is school. I had school, then finished school at like 4 p.m., went to play soccer training. Either it was my dad, it was a private one, or the club. Most of the time it was a club because we were training 3 times a week. And then Saturday or Sunday, sometimes Saturday and Sunday, we had games as well. We had league days and then games, and then we had tournaments. And then my mom, I remember my mom back in the day was like the physiotherapist because she was giving me massages when I was injured. And my dad was giving me strategy, and we were watching soccer the whole time. So I got to give it to my dad that he took this project personal. He took it so personal, and he obviously wanted to see me succeed. I had great ambition back then, but I think over the time for a child as well, and then back in the day it was the G8, the gymnasium. I think most people don't know what it means, but we'll keep it that way. And then it was so intense that I was feeling as if my freedom was being robbed. So, although I love the sport until today over everything, I was fit like never in my life before. And playing the game, a lot of people I played with actually ended up either in like the top league, playing for Paris Saint-Germain or the German team now. But it's usually this chapter I sometimes back in the past felt ashamed of, because yeah, I felt like I failed, right? And especially there is, I wanted to. So basically, I started to go to training less and less and less. Um, yeah, I don't want to say it because girls and other stuff that just
Now look at you.
man. I was hit by puberty basically. Started and I wasn't as focused as I used to be. And then things were just slipping slowly. But then I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna try something with which was super dumb because I wasn't really going to training. So before you make it to the German national team, there's something called the Auswahl. It basically means the selection.
Yeah.
So if you make it in there, then it's divided by four. the north, the south, and east and west. You train with others and basically compete with others as well. But then sometimes if the I think 16 or 15 plays, you can make the cut to play for them. So I didn't. I was training, kind of training for that, but not with the same intensity anymore. You know what I mean? If you want to make it out there, especially professional, you need to be there and obsessed with it. And I wasn't anymore, to be honest as well. And yeah, I didn't make it, and then slowly and gradually just went downhill. Over the years, I always kept myself kind of fit. And then the last really intense thing was how's it called? Beat 81.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this
Beat
guy.
81. It's basically this high intensity course in Berlin. I moved here. I knew that I need something to keep my blood boiling or going. Back in the days was travel and the intensity of studying and everything. But I was basically settled and was like, okay, I need something. It was sports again. So I started, went to Beat 81, there was like this short competition of 6 weeks, tried to get on top of the leaderboard, which I succeeded in. It was the last touch up where I was like, oh, I still have this in me. Um, why not actually pick a goal and pursue it and try to it doesn't matter if I hit it or not. What matters is that I push myself beyond and I know myself that once I have reached that tipping point, I know that I'm not going to stop until I actually hit it. So again, it's about keeping it moving. And this time I want to document it because I'm actually so bad in documentation. It's one of my biggest weaknesses, I gotta admit. When I'm in something, I'm so focused on it that um I just don't have the time to document.
Yeah.
But this journey, I actually want to document. So that's basically a snippet of where I come from. Let's say I don't want to say athleticism, but just sports wise, and movement wise, and it shaped my life m- in such a big way, major. Everything I do think and how I think comes from sports.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you already touched on some really crucial points that I feel like are very much in the intersection between endurance and let's be business or entrepreneurship. It was one was you being obsessed about an outcome, or not outcome, but you're obsessed with something.
Yeah.
And the dedication. So these are some crucial parts that I feel you either learn from a young age because of some coaches, or let's say because you just the team environment and
Yeah.
everything. I mean, I just know from my experience, for me, it also started quite early. I mean, I think my father put me on the football pitch when I was 5. I used to play handball, tennis, table
Dang.
tennis. I played all sorts of sports. I was always decent at it, never great, always okay. But then when I think I was 12, I actually got inspired by Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson. I think I remember my father showed me some old videos of them playing, and I was just inspired. I was like, hey, basketball looks so cool. It was like
Man,
such a
sick.
small, I mean, it's crazy. Back then, it was such a small sport. Like, it's unbelievable that we as Germany won the World Cup. And it's just a few years ago, it would have never been imaginable.
Yeah.
But yeah, also just to try to keep it short, I started quite late with 12, got really good real quick, and people
Damn.
really started noticing me. So I did just a few years, I think 3 years later, I started playing for a team that played in the youth national league, which like also the
Sick.
basketball Bundesliga. And man, like you said, life was hectic. I mean, you going to also school. My parents always made sure, okay, school's number one. You need to have good grades. You need to focus on school. Otherwise, you're not allowed to do sports.
Exactly.
So, and the thing is, I grew up in a very, very small village, like very, very small. 2,000 people is the population there, and I was living far away from everything. And obviously, if you get better, you usually go play for the bigger teams, the bigger cities. So, how my day usually looked like is I woke up at 5 a.m. because my school started at 7. That's another thing, honestly, so stupid, but that we're not going to touch on that, please. So basically, I woke up at 5, went to school at 7. Then, let's say school was done at 1 or 2. I had to go to the next biggest city with the train, which was like a 30-45 minute train ride. Had my individual practice there with my coach. Then, afterwards, I went for strength training in the same city, or vice versa sometimes. And then I had to go into the next city with the train, which was another 45 minutes, where I had a team practice then in the evening, or sometimes I even had like another skill practice from the Olympic. In Germany, call it Olympiastützpunkt.
Mhm.
Like it's the specific areas in some cities that are training people to go to the Olympics, and that's where
Damn.
we had our also individual skill training sometimes as well.
Yeah.
So sometimes I had like 3-4 times practices a day, and then in the evening, quite late at 6 or 7, the team practice.
Mm.
And luckily enough, my father was really. There's also one thing that I gotta say, it makes such a huge difference if you have parents that support you, and that I also gotta say I was very fortunate. And I'm for everyone that is not, I'm really sorry, and like I
Mhm.
hope like you've found your support system, because doing all these things is impossible with the right people around you. That's also one thing in business. You need the right people around you. You need the support system. You can't do it by yourself. I mean, this quote of, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you
Mm.
want to go long, go together.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah.
But yeah, how it looked sometimes, then my father picked me up at 8 and I was home by 11. I still needed to eat. I mean, you burn so much calories. I remember eating sometimes so much that I've almost puked because
What?
I just needed to eat. I needed to eat. I needed the food. And
Mm.
I definitely also gotta say, I definitely didn't have a healthy relationship to food back then, I would say.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, that was, and then wake up at 5 again. That was my life with 14. And then I was deciding, okay, after a few years of doing this, there's no way I can do this, continue
Yeah.
this. Um, then with 15 or 16, I actually moved to a prep school in a different country in Prague, in Czech Republic. That should prepare me, was supposed to prepare me for um, going to college in the USA. And I was there for 3 years. And honestly, dude, like, sacrifices. You also saying like you felt like you lost your freedom. I mean, it's an all boys prep school as well. You curfew was 10. You had like practice 2 or 3 times a day. You had study hall.
Mm.
It was basically your life. It was basically your life. And I mean, that's also one thing I mean, I feel like you maybe snapped out of it a bit earlier. And I think that's also one thing that's not getting talked enough about is, I mean, we're basically also talking about that. We're talking about, obviously, we want to talk about the benefits that sport
Mhm.
gave us in business,
Mm.
but there is also a lot of toxic and bad mental traits that you get taught on from, let's say, your team, or that is,
Yeah.
it's also often a very masculine environment.
Yeah.
Also, or maybe let's be it your coaches, because a lot of coaches honestly are very old fashioned. But this thing of chasing a goal, it is sometimes really important to just obsess about it, be so dedicated to a goal, but it's very hard to snap out of it sometimes and really realizing what you're actually sacrificing right now. And it took me till I was 21. I was pursuing that dream till I was 21, and I was always good. I was
Mm.
never like, would never be in the NBA or anything. No way. I would have been able to make some money till I'm like 35, and then I will be broken. My body's in shambles, and now what? Like, I'm not gonna have enough money to live for the rest of my life. Now I
Yeah.
need to start a new career.
Yeah.
And I think it's I'm realizing more and more. Yes, I would always do it again, because sport gave me so many powerful tools, which we're going to talk about now,
Mm.
that really made me successful, or making us successful in any other aspects in life. And I always would love for my kids to experience that as well, but it needs to be in a healthy extent, because there's almost equally as many bad triggers and toxic habits that I have nowadays from that sportive journey, that I feel like often is not getting talked enough about. And yeah, it should be also more open conversations about that.
100%. Man, parts. It's actually the first time I'm hearing the full story, to be honest, or your full story, and it's eerily, or parts of the story is eerily similar as well. Like coming home late at like most of the times I got home at like 9:30. I remember shower, food, then you have to do your homework
True.
and learn for the exams whenever there was exam. Man, dude, it is a lot for, let's say, minors to experience.
Mm.
To be honest, of course, it's this obsession. You want to make it as well, and your parents obviously support you, but at the same time, it's something I still haggle with a lot of times because I just don't know what the right way is,
Mm.
um, where and how to hit the balance. Because if you hear the stories of the people that are playing in the national teams nowadays, especially in Germany, a lot of them, like it's, I feel like the percentage might be increasing now. But a lot of stories I've heard, a lot of them actually were very obsessed. A lot of them, back in the days, it was even worse. I remember, especially in football, the DFB, they didn't pay much attention to school, for example. They were like,
Mm.
oh, yeah, you can drop school. And coaches were like, oh, why school? Come to training. You don't need school. Before they changed it, it was during my time they changed it and were like, hey, your school grades need to be good as well. And all the internats later,
The academies, the
yeah, the
prep schools, yeah.
academies adjusted it as well. But I think a lot of things are changing now. A lot of, let's say, better treatments, better access, especially even psychologists or access to psychologists very early on. I've heard that all that has been implemented now, and I think it's really, really, really good because if you do not have loving people around you, it might damage you.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's also like a very not to go too much too deep into this. It's a very football or soccer specific problem
Mm,
because in other sports like basketball or a lot of American sports, uh, you or it also changed now. But until a few years ago, the only way to get to the professional league
mm,
or like the dream of a lot of people was to play at college.
yeah,
So obviously you could get a like an athletic scholarship, but
yeah.
at the same time you still needed to have some decent grades, and you were not able allowed to play without not having certain grades. So I would say it's a very football
Mm,
specific because also in football there is just so much money involved
yeah. And
that
Germany is, let's say, a football nation,
yeah,
whereas America is more the basketball nation.
yeah,
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 or other nation. But I know that Germany basketball for a long time they weren't very focused on it,
yeah.
right?
No, for sure not.
Yeah,
I mean, just over the last few years, but I mean, we spoke quite negatively, obviously, about it now.
mm,
But we both obviously would probably pursue the same journey because it taught us a lot.
I would do it again.
Yeah. No, that's the thing. But because there is so many valuable things that you learn without actually realizing that
Yeah.
really help you in life and business. And one specifically that I came to realize quite recently is time management. I have sometimes very strong ADHD. I'm not sure if you can realize it through the podcast or not. But I mean, a lot of ADHD people with ADHD usually struggle with time management.
Mm-hmm.
But because from a young age, I had to organize my whole day through like with 3 or 4 different trainings. I needed to take trains to different cities. I needed to eat in between. I needed to text people when I'm going to be at practice and these certain things. All of this from a young age taught me how I manage my time, how I can effectively organize my day, how I can plan and schedule so I get the stuff done that I need to get done. And honestly, that's such a valuable thing that I can also clearly translating into business nowadays. Yes, I do get overwhelmed sometimes. Yes, there are so many tasks. But if I think about how many different or multiple tasks I'm managing on a daily basis as a co-founder of still a small agency where we don't have a lot of employees, where we can delegate, where there's a lot of different tasks that we have to juggle at the same time and
Mm.
we have to multitask, it can or could be difficult sometimes to get things done because it's just so many different things. But I feel like because we're both coming from a sportive background where time management and discipline was key, we're just able to manage.
Yeah.
Not saying it's easy, but
Yeah.
we're able to manage.
Yeah. But, let's say, what are the techniques that help you to do it? Like, what is the most efficient way for you? I mean, I know everyone is different in this, but what helps you personally, like practically?
So, I mean, that's also actually comes back to another thing of I get obsessed about things quite easily.
Mm.
There was a long time, a few years ago, where I was really obsessed about this productivity bubble and trying out time blocking, trying out the newest way of bullet journaling, or how do you become more effective and all these type of things. But quite recently, honestly, because it's getting more and more different things. I used to do time blocking for a while and it worked quite well. Um, but I realized I like to be flexible,
Yes.
because when things are getting like it's becoming so many different things. Let's say it's been marketing, then you need to focus on on sales. You need to focus then on production itself. Then you all of a sudden you need to focus on customer support. There's just all different things. I like to keep it simple. I
Mm.
realized the older I get, I'm not that old yet though, but the older I get and the more different tasks are coming on my plate, I just want to keep it simple. At the moment, I'm literally writing a physical to-do list in my notebook,
Mm.
just with a little checkbox.
Uh,
And it is so nice. Obviously, I use a calendar if I have meetings or appointments. Of course, I
yeah.
do that. But I don't know. I think it gets glorified. I know you have a different opinion on this, because you can come to actually add to this. There's people that just blast their calendar full from the morning till evening with like everything a little task, and the whole day is scheduled from beginning to the end.
Yeah.
And for me, there's nothing more beautiful than an empty calendar,
Mm.
because that gives me the flexibility and to adjust quicker to
Mhm.
when things change, because things constantly change.
That is nice. Like a blank canvas, kind of. That is actually really nice. I love the way you put it. I love the way you put it. Because the thing is, okay, productivity wise, people see me as super productive. I don't see myself as super productive. And I think a lot of people can say that as well. I mean, I'm always late, for example.
Oh boy.
But at the same time, it's productivity is a big thing for me, coming from sports as well, because I keep saying this, or I keep repeating this frequently, that it is very, once you've done something really hard, one of the best things of it is to know that you're able to carry that much. You know what I mean? Or you are able to do it again. Do let's say sports, for example. The whole waking up in the early in the morning, going to school, then training, then home, eat, then study again, and do your homeworks and all of that, and go to bed most of the times at midnight. With 13, 14, taught me so much that I could do it. I can do. I have the capacity. I have the stamina to do it,
Mm.
and that actually carries me until today. To be honest. Um, and to be honest, I don't really use any technique really, because time blocking does not work for me. This is where the culture of Africa comes in as well. That's, I mean, it's hard already to grow up in Africa and in Europe as well, especially Germany, where time is of the essence. Every single second is of the essence. If you do something that is, for example, if you're late to the doctor's appointment or whatsoever, they'll just give it to somebody else. So you will have to be on time, but it stresses me out. For if I have to do it for a long time, it stresses me out so much. Like time boxing, to know, okay, now I have to learn, now I have to do this, now I have to do this, now I have to it. Uh, mm-mm. It
Ain't for
doesn't
you.
do me well mentally, to be honest. I need now I would say I have a better balance. It's still not perfect, but I have a better balance of knowing, okay, this is a block of, let's say, podcasting or us meeting to work on strategy. I'm gonna I need to be here or at a specific location and then put it onto my calendar so that I know it. And my phone basically reminds me of it. But when it comes to the stuff I have to do on my own and alone, I plan it as I go. I'm very flexible in that. So when it comes to me and my own workload, very flexible. When it comes to workload with other people and stuff I have to schedule with other people, or let's say a deadline and everything, deadlines especially, all that comes goes into my calendar. Then I have an analog calendar basically. I know for a lot of people it doesn't make sense, but for me personally, it helps to write things out.
Mm.
It's such a therapeutical experience sometimes even just write my to do, even stuff I have on my digital calendar to write it out again kind of cements it, and I always have it on my mind. I'm less stressed to be honest, because most of the time, um, I know what's coming, kind of, and then when I'm, let's say, done with the parts where I have to rely on others or do others have to rely on me or do with others, I come home and I'm like, okay, my to do. You know what I mean? What
Mm.
have I done? Should I put this? Should I do this now, this one later? Or how did the priorities change and stuff like that? I try to keep it flexible, but at the same time, stuff others depend on to like put it and cement it in kind of. It's not always the best to be honest. It
Mm.
might work for me now. I might have to adjust it later on, especially once we have people working for us and managing and all these other stuff. Life is gonna get way hectier than
Yeah.
it is right now. And thus I think it will need different approach, but I think for now that's basically helping. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a very interesting point, and I actually just realized when you play team sports,
Mm,
I mean, obviously it's different for if you play individual sports, but even then you rely on people or people rely on you. Let's say it be your coaches or your sponsors or your support staff, because even if you at a certain level in individual sport, you still have a support to, you still have a team around you. So I feel like we indirectly get taught how to rely on other people
hmm.
and also realize they're relying on us
Yeah.
being a team player. And
Yeah.
that's, I remember actually when I started to go into the job market and you writing your CV, I think there was actually always one thing that was a that you noted or pointed out as a benefit. Oh yeah, I'm a very good team player. I used to play sports. Like, I mean, and it is actually such a valuable skill.
Yeah.
You don't even understand how many people are never learned how to actually behave and act in a team.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to sometimes think about these things because they're so natural for us. But there's so many people out there that sometimes when my okay, if there's certain people that tell me their work stories, and sometimes I'm just questioning, wow, I'm so impressed how these colleagues are acting in situations when shit hits the fan. That's also one thing. If you play sports or team sports and things go down, you're in this together. You
Yeah.
learn, okay, you're in this together. The only way you get out of it is together. And that's also another, I feel like, valuable lesson from sports that translates into life and endurance. And it's not just in team environments, but also just being able as an individual to endure stuff that simply sucks. Like there were times where you definitely didn't want to get up, run those laps, or go for morning practice, go to school, and then have training late.
Mm,
You would rather spend time with your friends. There were many, many, many moments where you could have very well done other things that would have been easier to not easier to enjoy, but it would give you the quicker dopamine hit or would be more rewarding in the short term, maybe not long term. And I feel like that's another thing that sport teaches you for life and business is to endure hardship or embrace the suck,
yep.
sacrifice short term gratification, which we nowadays society have a overstimulation of, and sacrifice that for the long term gain. Obviously, I touched on it. It's very important to make sure that you don't get stuck into this habit, and that you always need to question yourself if you're on the right path, and if the way that you're choosing is the right one and the most efficient,
Mm.
and if there's maybe not a better way to just step back and readjust and then go hard again. I think that's really important.
Yeah.
But in a basic sense, sport teaches you to embrace the suck.
First of all, amen to that. I think it- it's very, how should I put it? Most of the times I say it's a first world country problem.
It's true.
Which is, I just put it out there as a joke though. But I really think that I don't want to make it this too philosophical or whatsoever, but a lot of times you will have, most of times you will have to do what you actually are not or not set out to do, or because it will have to be done, right? And I think when it comes to sports in general, first of all, I think a lot of people don't actually know how to be a good team member of a functional team.
Mm.
um I wouldn't know, to be honest. When would I have learned that? That's always my question. I think in sports, because your team depends on you. Your team depends on your skill. Your team depends on you to not be injured. Your team depends on you to be on time. Your team depends on you to do so many things. Even if the one person falls or whatsoever, you will have to go and pick it up. You know what I mean? Like it's this seamless communication most of the times in a team that sport teaches you about. And it is just so crucial. I don't want to put it out there as like the holy grail of everything. Sport, I think there's so many other different ways. Um, some people learn it from their families. Some people learn it because their families basically depend on them from a very early age. There's so many multiple and different ways. We all come from different parts of life. But I think sport is definitely of the one of the ways or one of the experiences to learn it through and to go out there and try it out. And at the same time, doing the things that suck because your team depends on it. Your team depends on you doing the things that sucks as much as they do it as well. It's community does not mean, oh, I'm part of a community now and I can take. No. You'll have to give as well. And sometimes you'll have to give your everything to something you actually don't want to do. It's
Mm.
part of life. It's a sacrifices, as you said, right? And I think overall, it comes down to what do you value the most?
Mm.
Do you value, it's like on the priority list, if you value the beauty of being part of the team, if you value the other members of your team higher than you, then you would give it your all as well. If you do not, then obviously not because you're there for different reasons or whatsoever. There, of course, there's a time you take more from a team, but again, there will have to be a time first where you have given everything to the team. So and I know there's just so many more philosophies from different
Mm.
countries to kind of put on top of this as well, which we don't want to go too deep into because I know all our listeners are super smart and they had their own experiences in so many different ways. But at the same time, I think there's a lot to learn on both ends, business and entrepreneurship, and there is a lot to transfer to both ends as well. But all in all, I really think that um, it is beautiful to merge both.
Yeah.
It is beautiful to merge maybe business to other life experiences as well. But what I would put out there is that we should not see life in silos,
Yeah.
right? What would you say regarding that?
Oh, definitely. I mean, always trying to keep learning from certain aspects and applying them to other
Yeah.
pillars of your life. And I feel like it also leads perfectly to the thing I actually was thinking about is that yes, we learn a lot from sports in a young age,
Mm.
but it's never too late. Even if you haven't played any team sports or individual sports in the young, there's always so many learnings you will get from just starting whatever period of life you're in. Even now, I'm realizing or learning so many more things being on this Ironman journey that it just helps me so much in my daily life.
Mhm.
And that's just a perfect example, like you said, the different pillars of life, let's be sports, business, relationships, they all kind of are intertwined and play into each other. And you can always take something and learn from something. And also, one thing I would say why I'm way more happy now than when I just used to play or be a professional basketball player is I'm not just one thing.
Mm.
I am a boyfriend, I'm a partner, I'm a friend, I'm a business owner, I'm a creative, I'm an athlete. I'm all those different things.
Yeah.
And knowing this and knowing that not one simple thing defines you, it's freeing.
That is very beautiful. Yeah. That is very beautiful. I like that. I like that. To not be defined by one thing and to not define yourself by one thing is such a beautiful concept to come to. And I think it is a journey as well, to be honest.
Mm.
No one is born and just nails it the first time, but I think it's a discovery to finding yourself, testing different things and stuff. But do you want to touch upon, as a sneak peek to maybe another episode, do you want to touch upon what actually led you? Because you said that you have played basketball until you're 21, and then during the time we've met, you've always kept yourself fit. But what the switch to, okay, I want to run an Ironman 73 and 70.3 means that it's it's not just, oh, I'm doing sport to keep myself fit and
Mm.
whatsoever. It's in the realms of athletic ambition.
Yeah.
What inspired you to do that, or what led to it?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think, like you said, I always like sports been always such an essential part of my life that even if I wasn't like playing professionally basketball anymore, I always, like you said, kept myself fit because it was just natural for me. At least once a day, there is a workout plan. I go CrossFit,
Mm.
gym, running, swimming, or whatever. There is always something. But also quite this like happened quite recently. I felt there was something missing. Um, just have this dedication towards something, trying
Mm.
to be. Sounds very. It's very actually sounds very unhealthy and very toxic.
Yeah.
But trying to be the best at something,
Mm-hmm.
just having this, like you actually said nicely, this goal that you know will push yourself to something,
Mm.
and just to experiences and feelings that you didn't know they were there before. And I've never dabbled into much of endurance before. I never liked running. And I mean, I started running and fell in love with it because of some friends introducing me into it. It's like, I think usually how it goes.
Mm.
But my father used to be a triathlete, and he always told me, do it, you would be very talented at it. And I remember when I moved to Berlin like 5 years ago, he told me that because that's when I was just quit basketball.
Mm.
And I was like, no, I don't have time for it. I want to enjoy life now. I want to be free. I want to do the
Yeah.
things I never was able to do so. But I felt I lost myself
Mm.
in an identity. I wasn't. I felt like I fully, like I just said, I fully became identified myself as a creative,
Mm-hmm.
as a filmmaker and visionary. And over the last few years and months, I kind of finally, I'm still obviously, and that's a beautiful thing, trying to find myself and find different facets of myself. And that's the beautiful thing about it. The more things you try out, the more experience you get,
Mm.
the more of a whole self image you get from yourself. And I just realized, okay, I've always been an athlete. I am through and through an athlete, and there is just something missing. If I'm just keeping myself fit, I need an athletic pursuit. I need a goal that scares me. And yeah, so that was kind of the thing. Okay, I'm gonna give this triathlon thing a shot.
Mm.
Um, but also, just to be totally honest, like I went into it with this mindset. Okay, I don't want to become a triathlete now. I want to be an endurance athlete where I maybe can try some ultra races and just maybe do some ultra swims or do some marathons, do some triathlons, because I don't want to do the same mistake I did with basketball. That I'm just being that one thing and
Mm.
limiting myself of experiencing all the beautiful things that are out there and to be experienced. But to be totally transparent is very hard, especially when you come from the background. I often catch myself like, ooh, I can optimize that, and maybe I can actually, if I run that time, I might actually could make it professionally and maybe do that on the side. It's so dangerous. It's so hard
It's
not to get into this mindset.
it's a I don't want to say it's a trap, but it kind of feels like it.
Mm.
But just to I like how you make the connection of coming from what you said earlier, that you're a partner, you are a friend, um you're a boyfriend, you're a business owner now. Like all of that and even more holistically makes you the person that you are, or your identity, right? And now you are trying, and that is something you've probably learned over the last years, and now you're trying to take that into sports,
Mm.
which I think is very interesting, to not just keep yourself fit, but to push yourself to the realm of athletic ambitions again, but to do it in such a way that you're versatile to maybe just swimming or triathlon or a triathlon or even a race one day or whatsoever, that you are versatile to go into either directions one day. Yeah, I think I like that. That's really nice.
Yeah, and I mean it's also always one thing that struck me about you, because you came from this really extreme sportive background as well.
Mm.
And I felt, maybe tell me if I'm wrong, but I always thought you nowadays have a very healthy relationship to sports, that you don't necessarily feel the pressure of, yes, you do, like you said with the Beat 81 challenge, you like also want to hit those goals and like these things where you know, okay, it's going to push yourself, but you don't have the pressure to be like, okay, I used to be like a professional, almost professional football player. I need to still like do crazy shit, you know?
Yes, yes, and no, to be honest, because the thing is, it comes from. I remember that day so vividly when um it was the last day of training, and they told me that I didn't make the selection or the Auswahl.
Mm.
I was still with the club back then, and then I knew that by the end of that season, I want to stop before I get kicked out. And man, it was rough. But I remember going home or walking home, and I told myself that, okay, now I will have to use my brain to make it and not my body. That's actually what I told myself. And that is one thing that is a lot of people can see, that knowing from back then can see even now and today, that I'm still on this pursuit of using my brain, the books that I read, the travels and all these
Mm.
academic stuff. Everything I'm doing is such a crazy mental workload. And I know I can do it because I woke up early, and you know what I mean?
Mm.
Like, it's still the same toxicity, to be honest, which is actually sad. But I'm actually going back to sports as well and picking a goal, because I know it's gonna sound really wrong, really, really, really wrong, but I know it is part of me.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
I feel
And
that.
I don't want to lay it down. I'm not addicted to it either, but I love pursuing. I love for me. It's not about the achievement. It's more about the journey of pushing myself beyond what I'm able today, tomorrow, if I make one more, if it's just a 1 millimeter towards something, the better me, the better version of me, or whatsoever, I'll be happy. I'm happy all the time.
Mm.
But I love moving towards something. I love pursuing something. It's not about making it, oh, I need to make this my obsession again and make it to the Olympics or whatsoever. It's about pursuing something that I didn't believe I could do, but I want to train to get there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The
I want to
journey.
train, of course. Um, actually, I didn't put it out yet, but I want to run the 4 minute mile, right?
Let's go.
Um, this is a sneak peek. It's gonna be official, but and I know I actually don't believe right now that I can because I haven't trained for it. You know what I mean? There's this thing you are like, oh yeah, if you have an idea, you need to believe in yourself and bet in yourself. I don't think you always have to believe in every goal you have that you can hit it. You only have to believe that you can put in the work to actually hit it one day. You know what I mean? Like
100%.
you need to be willing that, okay, or knowing that it's going to be hard. I, in the shape that I am right now, am never going to be able to run a 4 minute mile, but I know there is something in me that is, and am able to do it and get there. I will have to put in the training and break it down.
There's a self-belief there.
Yeah. I think that's a more healthier way to approach it
Yeah.
instead of, oh yeah, I'm gonna run the 4 minute mile and then go out there, get slapped by reality, go home, feel shit about yourself, cry in bed and try again, and no system around it, just you and your brute force basically, which I think that's very dangerous as well. But and allow yourself to say as well and put your ego aside and be like, I'm not there today. There's no shame in that.
Yeah.
Because back in the days in sport, you couldn't say stuff like that.
100% not.
But I'm not there now. But I do believe that if I put the work into it and structure it down and I'm consistent with it, because now I've started running and then had an injury already. I'm like, what the heck? I was so angry, you won't believe it. I
Oh,
had
I
a
can.
call
No, trust me. I've
with
been the
my
same.
life coach, and I was so angry. I was swearing. Every second word was basically very vulgar. I was like, how body function?
Getting old now.
We haven't had a goal in such a long time. Now that things are going well, I'm picking up running again now. And I'm like, but it's part of the game. Now I learned that a lot, like I using sorry, I didn't use to stretch
Yeah, a
back
lot
in the
of
days.
people.
Yeah. And it wasn't important to my dad and the coaches back then. You did a bit of 5 minutes here and there, but it's not like something you pursue or you get an extra coach for stuff like that. We at least didn't.
But can I interrupt you real quick? I mean, that's so interesting. I think it's just a perfect example how the environment around you affects you so much because we had to stretch.
Really?
They made us stretch.
I wish.
And that's what I'm saying. It's crazy how, and that's just a stupid example
Yeah.
of how the environment around you can really have a huge effect on you.
That is true. I wish. Because nowadays, a lot of problems I have if I go to the doctor, thank God I found a really good one now. They keep telling me your body is fine. The only thing you need to make sure of is one, like every muscle has its opposite muscle, basically, right? That you need to make sure that your opposite muscle is as strong as the one muscle.
Yes.
That's where all my problems basically are coming from. That's all.
Yep.
And they're like, your body is fine. There's nothing to do. No broken bones, nothing. It's just that you need to stretch and make sure you train holistically instead of going to B81 and just training upper body and legs or whatsoever.
And pursuing like a goal for the sake of pursuing a goal. But sorry for interrupting you there, but I think that's the perfect way of tying in everything.
Yeah.
You should focus on a very holistic view. You should make sure that you're not, I mean, obsession is good to a certain extent if you make sure there's always this balance around it. And this, I think that's also why we both now I would say, more happy or in a healthier headspace than when
Mm.
we used to be younger. Because as a young person, obviously, this is your whole thing. You are this one thing,
Yeah.
and now you so many more things.
Yeah.
Which when something goes wrong and that, it's fine. There's many more things that define me as a person. And I personally, or we would personally actually love to know what are maybe the things you're pursuing now? What are the things that sport might have taught you? Or what are maybe the next few challenging challenges that you want to achieve or that you're taking on for yourself?
Yeah, for sure. And make sure to comment it or let us know through either DMs or however, because we would like to learn and broaden our learning experience as well. But overall, make sure to like this and subscribe for the next and following episodes, or follow us even, and let us know what you think about the episodes. Engage with us. That would be wonderful. And yeah,
Yeah.
thank you very much.
We appreciate you for being here. See you in the next episode. Peace.
Peace out. Run it.